Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Triple Margin Freedom, the podcast for entrepreneurs, mission-driven leaders, nonprofits, and anyone who cares about the work they're doing. People who want to experience more profit, more time reclaimed from lost, worthless activities, and creating the kinds of teams that are unstoppable. My name is Mark Mathai. I'm your host, and today I'm taking some time to answer a question that I received this week from one of my nonprofit partners in Greenville, South Carolina. It's an excellent question that's going to require a little bit of understanding, but it equally applies to both profit and nonprofit worlds when it comes to the kind of impacts organizations can have when they, as an organization or collective, can move from individual solo attempts at solving problems to a more collective attempt at solving those problems. So let's get into the question real quick and take it from there. Here's the question. In an environment where nonprofits are being pushed towards collective impact through cross-sector partnerships or relationships to drive the full scope of system change, how do we quickly identify best practices for developing strong relationships that turn into long-term, high-trust partnerships? What an amazing question. Now, for all of us who are saying, what was that question just about? It was about collective impact. And it's a new way where funders can require or request that the association or organization they're working with is working with other organizations, not just to put Band-Aids on problems, but to solve the deeper root issue of the problems. And together they can achieve more. And it works in team settings, and it certainly works as business owners, nonprofit leaders, and entrepreneurs as we kind of combine and create collective agreements. It's collective impact agreements, and also joint ventures in our partnerships. But first, let's get to some of the definitions, right? So first, let's talk about collective impact. At its core, it's a structured way for diverse groups, think community members, nonprofits, businesses, government, churches, to team up and tackle big social problems. So it's not a loose collaboration. It's more formal than that. It's a commitment to a common agenda between two organizations where everybody aligns their efforts to create population level change while advancing equity. We'll get to some more of those definitions, but in a nutshell, it's how do we form high trust partnerships that help us do more than just put a Band-Aid on community problems. How do we actually get to the root cause of those problems? Now, the framework boils down to 5 particular pillars that I like to point out. First, there has to be a shared vision or a common agenda, right? It has to be meaningful to both parties. Then you need to have a way, kind of an agreed upon way to measure it. I think they call that shared measurement, but what's the agreed upon way we're going to do this? By the way, like I've said a million times, you improve what you measure. You do not improve what you do not measure. Okay. Number 3 is that activities involved in this partnership reinforce each other. You want them to reinforce each other, not compete with each other, or not just add nothing to each other. So they really need to reinforce. So if you think of it in terms of our language of strengths, we want to take our collective strengths and help work together so that where one organization may be weak, maybe the other organization may be strong, and those can work together to create a stronger whole. You need to make sure that you have ongoing communication, meaning a good communication channel and a planned structure of communication so that you can continue to track your progress. And the backbone of all of it is the agreement, which keeps everything coordinated. Think of that agreement like the conductor of a symphony. You have all these different instruments that come together. The conductor pulls them all together, gets them in the right timing, and makes beautiful music. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. But let me address one other thing, and that's what is system change? Now, system change is just the bigger picture. It's about shifting from root causes of issues, like I said, not slapping a Band-Aid on the symptoms. In the nonprofit world, it means altering the underlying structures, the policies, the power dynamics, the mindsets, and relationships that keep things like poverty or inequity locked in place without any progress being made on the whole problem. It's dynamic and it's adaptive, and you kind of sense what's broken in the system, then tweak the parts and watch the ripple effect create broader equity and broader improvement for everybody involved. I guess the best example I can give, instead of just feeding the hungry, which is important, that will never go away, but instead of just feeding the hungry, you change the food access policies so that hunger doesn't happen in the first place. So you take your mechanisms, you work together to solve the bigger problem while you continue to deliver on the other problems. Now, with that foundation, here's the one question to get us started that I want you to ask yourself as you're coordinating a potential partner or someone that you want to join with. And this will help cut through the noise and get you to the place where you can make real impactful alliances time and time again. Here's what you need to ask. So, the very first thing you do when you're considering doing this, maybe there's a grant or something you need to partner with other people to do. Here's the question: does this partner actually care about the same end game I do? You see, without that, then this is not going to work. You need to have the same end game. Or are they just chasing funding? Right? If they're just chasing funding, or if you're just chasing funding, that's a whole different thing, probably appropriate for the level of commitment necessary to create a community impact, a collective impact, and the agreement that it comes together. So I would say that's the same whether you're trying to create a collective impact partnership or a joint venture in a for-profit business. Both have to align around that common cause. Now remember, this is the question: does that partner have the same end game or goal in mind as I do? If the answer is yes, continue the conversation. If the answer is no, do not continue the conversation. Stop there. Now, that gut check, see, that's your true north. And in a collective impact push, it ensures you're equally yoked. And that equally yoked is really important, because the last thing you want to do is get involved with a partner who does nothing, gets the funding, and leaves the weight of the work to you, or vice versa, right? You don't want to be that person or that organization. So that means we have to balance a balance in our values, balance in our commitment, and balance skin in the game, because then we can drive systematic change without getting derailed along the path. How do you do that? Here's the big question that I think really goes. So how do we get to the starting line? Well, I've given you one question, but here are 3 quick actionable steps you should take and triggers that can help you either go forward with the agreement and the partnership or step back and really think about it. Here they are. First of all, do you have a shared pain? Do they admit the same frustrations you do? Better yet, do they admit any frustrations? So, for example, this is just an example. If one of the common frustrations, you come to the meeting and you say, look, these short-term grants that we're getting are killing our ability to scale. We need more predictable funding in order to get to the next level. If they come in and they say, well, short-term grants are funding 3 of our programs, we love them. You see, all of a sudden you don't have shared pain around that. So what you're doing is the very first question you're asking is, do we have the same frustrations? And if they're not willing to come to the table and share frustrations, be wary. Be wary, because authenticity and transparency are really important in developing high trust, high performing partnerships in the nonprofit sector. So you really want to make sure you're clear on that. Do they admit the same frustrations you do? Number 2, this is a great one. Is there a shared win? Can they name your mission and your mission success as their success? And can you name their mission and their success as your success? See, that's critical. Not only do we have to have shared pain, but we have to have shared wins. Now, if those first 2 things align, you're sitting really good so far. If they don't, caution, start to think twice before you jump into this relationship, because we just don't want to help. We want to create an ecosystem that levels everything up around us. And to do that, you have to be equally vested in this. And to do that, you have to have equal outcomes on the other side. And number 3, shared risk. Now, this is the most important question, right? 3 simple questions to ask to get started. Here it is. Will they stick around when the money dries up? Think about that. Will they stick around? Now, do they really care about as much about that mission as they said they did? Are the wins really that important as they said they did? And you'll know all of that because will they actually stick around if the funding goes away and they're no longer able to do it? Will they invest their time, their talents, their resources in that community impact? If they care enough to say yes, then all of a sudden you have a wonderful partner. to begin a community or kind of a collective impact agreement. And I would recommend going forward. If they say no to any one of those things, well, then walk away. And here's why I say that. Walk away because you'll save yourself months and a lot of energy on fake collaborations. Collaborations happen when their balanced priorities exist. And those three questions will help you figure it out so that you can save your time, energy, and talent for the real fights, the things worth working on with the people you want to partner with. And like I said, this isn't just for nonprofit. The same goes true for profits who are hunting joint ventures, ways to kind of partner together to kind of strengthen their product or service offering. I do it all the time. I have a joint venture with Brain Health Nebraska, and some of the key fundamentals of what I'm just speaking to here, I hate to say, I didn't follow through on. And it's made it a little bit harder to get adoption and buy-in into the process of the transcranial magnetic stimulation intervention. Why? Because in order for that to work, I would have to have a visible, strong partner on the other side who's willing to step in and help educate the public on the benefits of that. And without that, it's just me, Mark Mathai, a coach, talking about people's brains, and nobody wants me to mess with them. So I get that too. So there's a case where it's not working as well as it could work because I didn't use that same simple structure. Here it is again, just so you mark this down. Do you have shared pain? Will they admit their frustration? You want to be open and transparent there. Is there a shared win? Can they name your mission and your mission's success as theirs? And number three, are they willing to share the risks? That means, are they all in, and will they go away if the money dries up or the funding dries up? And if there's any one of those three off, I really do suggest you consider walking away and not funding it. Don't just chase funds to chase funds. Look at the impact your nonprofit can have if you simply take the time to find the right partners to solve the right problems and do the right thing. Okay, so I've seen this work well. I've seen this flop in a few situations, but the truth is anything is possible. And forming high-performing partnerships is a new ecosystem and a new mantra for anything that we want to establish. And if your funders are saying, hey, we want to make sure that every single dollar we pour into you gets maximized, so we want you to be having a collective impact and solving community-level problems, the root problems, then good. Then find the right. I guarantee they're out there. You just have to take your time and look. It's more than just liking people. It's making sure that you share the same pain, that you're in it for the same reason. It's making sure that that win and that organization is something you would be proud to put your name on. And you're willing to play equal parts in the risk. If the money dries up, you want to still go forward together to make sure that this problem gets addressed to the best of its ability. Friends, I think this is a neat season that we're entering into with a ton of opportunity. Not only are we're learning to run our organizations better, but we're learning to partner better, to have communication better. And right now, isn't now the best time ever to start learning to reach across the aisle, to work together better, to create bigger and bolder outcomes for our organizations? And if you can do that, and if you find others who are willing to do that, then together we can come together and we can elevate every single moment by forming an impact together that changes the very structures and foundation of the problems that we're trying to solve. So until we talk again, thanks for listening and good luck to you. And don't forget, at the end of the day, as you perform your kind of collective impacts, your shared values, your joint ventures, just remember this: elevate your moments. We'll talk again next week.